Inside the plane at the time. It appeared at that time they had non-life-threatening injuries. Tampa Fire Rescue arrived on scene. The NTSB has now been notified. They'll take over jurisdiction of the investigation.
You said 3 individuals that were on the plane?
There were 3 individuals, yes, on the plane. All 3 individuals were outside the plane once the officer came on scene.
And Eddie, can you confirm a Good Samaritan got them out of the plane, right? It was on fire, and so how did they get out of the plane?
That information I don't have yet. I just know when the officer arrived on scene, the people were already out of the plane.
And do you have any information as far as what happened before, as far as, because we noticed there appeared to be some power lines down. Did the plane strike those lines? Do you guys know?
The plane did strike the lines. They did declare an emergency as they were coming down. It appears there's no structural damage to any of the buildings in the area. TECO's on scene. They're making repairs to the wiring. The power's been shut out in the local area.
Do you know where that plane was coming from and where it was going?
I don't have that information. Did you want to step out?
So, Emily Nips with Tampa International Airport.
Sorry, can you say it at the mic one more time?
Emily Nips with Tampa International Airport. The only thing we know from looking at FlightAware information is that it was coming from Zephyr Hills, and it did appear to be coming into Tampa International Airport. Our fixed base operator did not have any information about it coming in, so they weren't expecting the plane, but we know from looking at the FlightAware information that it was coming from Zephyr Hills and heading into Tampa International Airport. I don't have that information. We just know that it was a Piper Cherokee aircraft.
Do you have any information on what the tower, anything else about what the tower received? We heard it was, Eddie just said it was an emergency. Anything else from the tower?
We don't have that information.
Okay. Jason, could you talk about the fire aspect of this? You know, there's lines, we've got jet fuel, or at least airplane fuel on board. So what was some of the danger going on with this incident?
Yeah, I'm Jason Penny, Penny, Tampa Fire Rescue Public Information Officer. Yeah, it was really interesting. We had been notified from the tower that there was a plane that was inbound to Tampa International. So we had our aircraft rescue firefighting crews were staged on the runway in anticipation of it. But that plane never came, at least not to the grounds of the airfield. So then we had crews that responded out here once they saw the column of smoke, and we had to shift our attention out here. It was really thanks to the Tampa Police Department, because they had one of their officers that was in the area that responded immediately and was able to witness the folks getting off the aircraft. So we knew that we didn't have any passengers left inside the aircraft, but we were able to get those folks out, get them transported to the hospital as trauma alerts. So I mean, it's amazing. It's miraculous. Any other adjectives you want to use to describe what happened here, because there was no damage to anyone, any injuries to anyone on the ground, minimal damage to property in the area. TECO is out here fixing that already. So wow, I mean, just a lot of events that lined up together, even though it's bad for the folks that ended up in a plane crash, but any crash you walk away from is a good landing, they say. So very fortunate here to have this team, all the folks out here to make sure that this didn't become worse.
Jason, what more can you tell us about what the pilot was saying, the reason you staged on that runway?
Well, just typically when a pilot radios in that they're having some sort of emergency, we don't necessarily know what it is, but our firefighters work in conjunction. They're actually on site at Tampa International Airport. So once they get that alert that there's some sort of emergency, they immediately stage, regardless of what the extent of the emergency is. So that's why they were there in preparation for this aircraft coming in.
So how long, when he radioed in for the emergency, like how long in between his radio call and the actual crash?
I'd have to look and see. I'd have to look at my phone and see when that came in. But
he knew that something was wrong for some time.
Right. Well, the pilot made an alert call. I don't know the timeline as far as how that goes, but the pilot was able to radio to the tower, and then that comes to us, our Tampa Fire Rescue dispatch, so they can make our airport crews aware of it to be ready.
And I don't know if you guys can confirm this, but one of the guys, the witnesses, said he thinks that the plane was trying to land in the road, but maybe clip the line. Does that make sense?
I don't know. That's something that the investigators will find out, but just as a layperson looking at it, I mean, if that's what his goal was, he certainly succeeded. I mean, it's just fascinating that they were able to walk away from that and not damage any other structures or people on the ground.
Do you know if it was all males on the plane? Or?
3 males, 3 adult males, yes.
We hear they have some severe injuries.
Well, look, they were in a plane crash, you know, so I think one of them I heard was walking around, but as far as the extent of those injuries, I won't know that. That's something that you'll have to follow up with the hospital to find that out.
We're calling them non-life threatening.
I don't know that at this point.
How close is this location to the runway?
Less than a mile, maybe?
Yeah, less than a mile. It's close.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jason, I want to be extremely clear about
Sure.
something.
Sure.
From the Tampa Fire Department's perspective, you guys do not know if these injuries are life-threatening or not yet.
We don't, only because, but I would say that about anyone that we transported as a trauma alert. So don't read any more into that, because I don't want to tell you, hey, everything's fine, and then there's something that we missed. Our job is to pack them up, get them to the hospital as soon as possible. But I mean, they weren't inside the aircraft. We're told there were only 3 passengers, and so that's a good sign.
But two of them were badly burned, right? With
That I don't know, and I can't get into the condition of them because I simply don't know. All right. Anyone else?
All right, so
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Emily, so is that